I am so surprised you picked this out.
What up, Ho Biscuits? It's your girl Skitten, and since it's Halloween time, I figured we'd do something with creepy crawlies.
Alright, I'm ticklish. You don't need to do that.
The creepy crawlies.
Please. That was not an invitation to do it again. Are you Bill Cosby? I said stop. No means no, Mr. Huxtable.
Swiper, no swiping.
Swiper, no.
So we are here to watch what I'm sure is going to be a disgusting video.
I'm ready for this.
Nightmares for the rest of my life. We're here to watch Bug Exterminators of Reddit. What was your "we're gonna need a bigger boat" moment?
So I went to a place called Siegel Suites. They got a contract with the company I used to work at. Siegel Suites is known to have a lot of like cheap rooms and stuff you buy weekly as like temporary housing. Some people use them as permanent housing, but the people had been there before me, so this was their "we need a bigger boat" moment. They walked in and they were like, man, this place is so dirty. Like, I can't believe how dirty he left the walls and the floors and all that. I don't know why we're here. And they flipped on a light, and then the wall shifted slightly in one direction. They realized the floor was moving a little bit, like a little wavy on the ground, and the man had been eaten to death by bed bugs, more or less. Heavy drug usage, whatever, but he was anemic when they found him. And we had on fucking hazmat suits and sprayers, and they were, yeah, they described it as, you know how like when you wade in the water at the beach?
Shut up! Oh,
that's how
so
they said because it's not like they're matted on top of each other like crazy, but there's so many of them moves in like a wave when they move. Yeah.
That's so gross.
Yep. And that's how I was trained. That was my experience. So, anywho's, and here we go. Hot cha cha.
Oh my god.
Play. Play.
Bigger boat moment? Spent the summer between high school and college working for a local, family-run exterminating company.
Sounds like a terrible
nice gig,
idea.
residential treatment during the day, mosquito fogging at night, and the occasional dairy farm treated for flies and rats.
That's pretty good.
One day I'm at one of these dairy farms and enter the milking parlor to spray and set up traps. See a rather large cat across the parlor from the front door. Good for him, I think. Growing fat, eating rodents and whatever else he's caught over the years. I enter the parlor and the cat moves, and I realize the cat is not a cat, but a rat, easily the size of a 12-15 pound feline, and running down a drainage pipe. Decided that I did not want to be a sacrifice to the Rat King that day and noped out of there fast. Pulled back insulation in a crawl space to track termite damage. About 100 baby juvenile cotton mouths came out from where the dry vent wasn't hooked up properly, keeping them nice and warm and moist in the insulation as fall approached. I'm only a termite exterminator. Got out that crawl space quicker than lightning. To this day
That's hella scary.
sure the termites and snakes are living under there happily ever after.
Oh hell no.
For those who don't know, cottonmouths are extremely venomous snakes that are known to have possibly lethal bites.
Yeah.
Possibly is a great way to put it, because it might be a dry bite, but with the babies, they have very potent venom for the younger things. Snakes. Sorry.
Got called out to a house that had a roach problem. So I walk in the house and I crap you.
Are you okay?
Not you could barely see the color of the walls and ceiling for all the roaches.
Yep.
It was literally raining roaches from the ceiling. The people inside just sitting around like it's just a normal Monday and laughing about catching roaches falling from the ceiling. Without a doubt the most disgusting thing I've encountered.
And you know they were German. You know they were fucking German roaches. Oh my god.
The gas station on overnights and asked my manager to do something about the spider infestation. I hate spiders, and it was so bad customers started going to other places because these big spiders would build webs over the door in the span of 40 minutes between customers. Plus the entire awning and overhang was just a mess of webs and hanging spider nest.
What? Nobody tried to at least spray them down with a hose or nothing? Y'all just let them live there? Rent free?
So she goes out and buys some spray, and it barely does anything.
Yeah, them niggas,
so she goes and buys a bunch of spray, and is standing outside one day just spraying the awnings and overhang, the doors, air pump, Anyways, there was this large crack in the siding. So she stuck the spray
nozzle
inside and started spraying.
Oh,
I'd have
no.
died. What followed was so bad, I probably would have died from terror.
I don't even know if I want to let him finish saying this. Okay, are you good? This is gonna freak me out.
The way she described it, after the screaming stopped and the color came back, was as if someone turned a great big faucet on. Hundreds of spiders just came pouring out like water. Must have been a ton of nests inside there. Burn the gas station down.
Oh my god. You remember when? Oh my god. I remember we had this house that we couldn't spray because the dude didn't want to pay. So I started this conversation. Turns out he was an old army vet, and he didn't want people going to his backyard spraying his old equipment that he had from for the army and shit. And I let him know, like, yeah, but like the way you live, he doesn't do any yard work, no HOA, a bunch of like messy stuff or whatever. I said, but you should at least let me spray like your water boxes and stuff. I don't have to spray around your stuff. He let me spray around his house or whatever. And the infestation this man had trailed up onto his house. And I remember us standing out there and watching them flow out of this water box. And then you see them coming out the yard and then just start going on his house. And we and him are just watching this. And I'm thinking I'm fired, right? I'm like, he's going to report me. He's pissed. And he's like, is there anything we can do about this? I was like, we had to just wait till they die. And they'll probably die in a couple days or so. And they're just covered in his home. And that was the last time he used our service. Wasn't my fault, though.
It's kind of your fault.
It's a flood of roaches, man. What the fuck am I supposed to do about that? Gotta wait till they die, bro.
Not an exterminator. Frick it, since we're all just sharing our worst anyway. My apartment's got an indoor trash shooter.
Can I just talk about what a big fucking pet peeve that is for me?
What?
Like when a Reddit is like, hey, specific occupation, what is this? And somebody's like, well, I am not that specific occupation, but let me put my 2 cents in. Like, can you not?
Everybody in the comment section says everybody just does that on Reddit too.
That shit is so irritating. Like, hey, underwater basket weavers, what's the craziest thing you've encountered while you were an underwater basket weaver? And we're like, oh, I'm not an underwater basket weaver, but one time I was in
But
the
I
ocean.
ordered a basket once. That's
I'm just like,
I ordered a basket. But this is probably still a good story though.
I'm just saying it's fucking irritating.
Under the kitchen sink. It has a habit of falling open by itself, and pests crawl up and into our house from it.
Oh,
Roaches,
hell no.
the works.
Oh,
We've been
hell
fighting
no.
them for
He
weeks.
called it the
Eventually 17-year-old me comes up with the brilliant plan of doing a seal. I used trash bags and some strong-ass tape to make an airtight seal around the offending chute.
I'm not quite sure.
I do 3 layers of magic. The barrier works. The roaches couldn't cross into our realm from theirs.
Okay.
3 years later we start finding small dead roaches in the kitchen. Maybe one in the toilet. I've forgotten all about the dark forces I banished years ago, and I'm mystified. The bodies start getting bigger as the weeks pass. Eventually we start finding live specimens and they're pretty large. I finally twig that perhaps the ancient seal has been breached. I get on down to the compartment under the sink and open it up. Horror.
No.
The roaches had slowly bitten through the seals and ended up breeding within the layers of the seal. Eventually they got through the final seal, and as the breach grew wider, larger and more vicious bugs got through. I could see them roiling and seething in a bunch within the plastic. I realized what a huge mistake I made all those years ago, and now the evil was back for me. I ended up bringing in some industrial strength pesticide and fighting through the outer guard to get to the breach. I couldn't let any survivors past me, or it would get into the house. I pushed a tube into the breach and made a temporary seal around it with more tape, and let loose with the pesticide. I could hear the roaches scrambling in the plastic, getting more hectic as they started to die. The fighting continued as I was still rounding up survivors who escaped and putting them down while the pesticide did its work. Once I heard nothing from the seal, I tore it down. It was carnage, beyond disgusting. That motivated us to tear that crap out and get a new, roach-proof chute installed. And I got an idea for a fantasy setting for my creative work.
Oh, God.
I'm sure you're well on your way.
That was disgusting.
You did a great job.
Oh, that was so
But the
good.
thought of them breeding inside the folds of the plastic between your disposal chute is utterly horrific.
I'm so uncomfortable.
Is that... Go for another
We
one.
have a problem with Japanese beetle.
What the fuck does that mean?
Like, a big one. I
Let me
bought
see,
a...
what's a Japanese beetle?
Please. We just typed that together on the. You guys didn't see. Oh, June bugs. How do you have a big problem with June bugs? What do you live on a fucking farm?
June bugs are cool.
Also, why are they really? They're called Japanese beetles? I didn't know that. I've always known them as June bugs.
Wait, so then what's a June bug?
That is a June bug. That's what a June bug is.
June bug.
Yeah, that's what a June bug is.
Ugh.
Yeah, same thing.
Okay.
What the fuck what do you guys do out there? We got a problem with June bugs in Kentucky on the corn, nigga. Like, what the fuck? You guys growing corn in your house?
I like how throughout this video I've just gotten smaller because I'm so disgusted.
Yeah, it's gross.
3, 2, 1.
Trap after seeing 10 or 20 hanging out on my roses. But then the trap was completely full within an hour. We're talking thousands of beetles caught in just an hour.
You put a trap out. You idiot. The trap has stuff that attracts bugs in it. Why are you attracting the bugs to you? They can smell that shit from like forever away.
So I go investigate. Surely they didn't all come from my roses, right? So
What?
I start checking my trees. A few here and there until I get to this crepe myrtle at the very edge of the yard.
No.
It was literally covered in fricking beetles. As in, the beetles were fricking. Hundreds of thousands of beetles. My dad decided the thing to do was to shake the tree and scare them off.
So never mind. They decided y'all was the freak house. Your house was a freak house. No. It's like this.
Ew, gross.
It's the freak
That was the worst idea. Beetles rained from the heavens. The sky was dark and swirling with beetles. They covered me, even though I had retreated to a safe distance, sticking in my hair,
they do
crawling
that.
in my clothes.
Yeah, they do
Dad
that.
stopped, dropped, and rolled.
They have sticky hands too, so when they get in your hands, they get stuck, and you have to like pull them out individually. Yeah, sometimes they'll grip on so hard with their legs will pop off.
I would have to cut all my hair off.
For real.
As these beetles
Yeah.
were stirred into action, so were all of the beetles from all of the trees beyond.
Wow.
It was Armageddon. I was not convinced I would survive this. A few days later, Dad, dressed in a makeshift hazmat suit, went out and doused every tree with the most toxic bug killer he could find.
So bad for the environment. Please stop.
Even now, weeks later, we have to pick the stiff corpses of beetles out of our dog's fur whenever he
poor
comes
baby
inside.
dog.
I still have nightmares.
Yeah.
Frick Japanese beetles.
Wow, that's so funny.
Not an exterminator, but this happened to a friend of mine in college.
I'm not even mad about these anymore. Like, I was kind of irritated after you brought it up, but like these non-exterminated stories are pretty fucking good.
He was in a frat and actually lived in the frat house.
Oh, Lord.
During one of the
Mistake.
parties they threw a water pipe was broken.
Oh,
They didn't stop the party or
Lord. I
really
bet you they
even
didn't
act like it
fix
happened, so there was just water
it.
all over the place. Eventually they just shut off the water but didn't call any kind of plumber cleaner for the water that was probably an inch deep on the floor.
Bad beginning.
You left an inch deep of water on your floor?
Instead, they set up little stepping stones to make it out the front door
Shut
without
the
getting in the
fuck
water.
up.
Fucking
However,
lazy
because there
bugs.
was so much stagnant water just sitting around,
Yeah.
mosquitoes were breeding like crazy. I crap you not, you couldn't be in the house for more than 5 minutes without getting 50 mosquito
Fucking
bites.
idiots.
The worst place I've ever been. They were eventually kicked out of the house when the frat advisor saw what happened. Called the landlord and the landlord had seen what happened.
Fucking
Yet
idiots.
sounds like college.
Oh, God.
You know, people always say they're like, yeah, that sounds like college. I'm like, what the fuck college did you guys go to? College was not like this for us.
Why are you like this?
I mean, okay, so I think the worst bug thing,
Oh, man.
the worst bug thing that I've ever experienced personally was the fucking grasshoppers.
Yeah, in Vegas, and that was legit.
So
Super legit. Go ahead and tell your story.
I was gonna say, did I send you that video? You know, I worked downtown, and downtown was where the grasshoppers were the worst, because obviously we have all those fucking neon lights and shit like that. I remember I saw that there was like quite a few grasshoppers like when I first went into work. When I left work, I was just like, man, it seems like there's so many more.
Swarms! And that on the ground is grasshoppers too.
Yeah. So like, here, can we pause it real quick?
Yeah, you can do whatever you want.
What? 6.
Oh shit.
Yeah, man.
Okay, so you see this area right here, how it looks like the ground is just kind of like faded out because of the light. Those are grasshoppers.
Grasshoppers.
They're fucking the ground is brown with grasshoppers. And my dumbass, right, I had parked in the back. I was like, I'm gonna park in the back far away from the fucking light so then the grasshoppers aren't gonna get me and the grasshoppers won't be on my car. But there were so many fucking grasshoppers, it didn't matter. And because I was so far away from the entrance, I just had to run. Like, I had crushing,
stomping on.
You know how he talked about earlier, like a sea of, it was like a sea of grass. They were all over me, and like I couldn't help it. I just screamed. I just ran and screamed, and I was like sobbing. I was just running and screaming and crying, and like I got to my car, and like there was like a grasshopper near my door handle, and I was just like, I can't. So I'm not going home tonight. Like I can't go home.
And what was funny is she came home and I was playing Tekken on the computer.
Yeah.
And I was just really into it. And she came home. She said something, and she was like, I was like, oh, I'm playing the game though. I'll be there in like a minute or whatever. She was talking about grasshoppers and like crying. I was like, okay, like a grasshopper or two. And then I saw this and I was like, oh, so it's like an infestation.
I was mad at him because I had called him. I had called him to like.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, to come pick her up. Yeah.
Come get me.
Yeah.
I can't do it. Like I can't. And he didn't. I called him twice.
I didn't answer the phone.
Answer the phone.
Yeah, but
I saw. I was just like, so I just have to. So I was just like, so. And there's this one girl, and she parked right where this is. She had parked right here.
Yeah.
She had parked like behind this car. Not this car. This car. She had parked right there.
Right.
And so her car was. I don't even know what color her car was.
Yeah.
Like I literally could not tell you what, because it was just covered in grasshoppers. And she like ran over there, and then she just kept running back and forth and she's just like screaming and crying and sobbing. And like she finally made it in her car, like, and she closed the door and I could still hear her screaming in the car. And I was like, that bitch has grasshoppers in her fucking car. 100%.
100%. There's no way you don't.
With this many?
Play it again.
God.
Play it again. Look at that shit.
This is what?
Ah!
What?
Dude, they're like, dude, like in the back. Like, okay, you saw the foreground, right? Look at the background. Like, put the thing by the other light. Like, look at that by the other light. Yeah, that area.
Which one? This one?
Yeah. Look at that area back there. That's all grasshoppers back there, bro. That hue of the video is grasshopper. It's the hue of grasshopper, bro. Fucking great.
You can see. Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say a car like just drove through and you can see all the grass.
Yeah, them like fly up after it drives past. So, anyways, those are our stories of bugs. Pretty good. Pretty good stories.
I hate them.
Anyways, we'll see y'all later. We're gonna try to get some sleep now. Good luck.
Peace out.
If something touches you, man, you're gonna flip the fuck out. If I just punched you in the stomach, you're drinking water, jerk. I'll see y'all.